friends and seekers. We are happy again to be with you to ponder on the topic Yoga of Knowing Ourself. Dear friends, scriptures from all religions teach that the divine reality is omnipresent. Each and every one and all beings are divine. The reality of life lies beyond the senses, and we can understand it only by our intuitive knowledge through meditation and reflections. Knowledge gained by our senses may give us an attitude that I already know everything. This assumption feeds our ego, and it can be an obstacle in our spiritual evolution. No amount of physical knowledge or reading or information can be equal to a direct experience of the absolute truth of the self. We have three phases that we express in our daily existence. The first is the one we show to the world. It is mostly ideological, imaginary, and egoistic. The second is the one we show to our close friends and our family members. It is based on our physical and psychological feelings to be related with others. The third is the one which we never show to anyone. It is based on our fear complex and ignorance. We are afraid to express ourselves and not willing to relate honestly. If we reflect on this, we may come to know many hidden things of our personal life. We human beings are like a white sheet of paper. We know nothing about our future and how to find a place in our situation and family. We don't know who we want to become and who we should listen to. In the process of our life, we come across many negative suggestions that can diminish our personality, ruin our self-confidence, and prevent us from becoming who we are destined to be. If our inner state is not in peace, we will sooner or later start feeling it. We should not deny our anxiety and fear we face. Instead, let us engage in self-discernment to understand its roots. Let us fix our time for deeper reflection and inner dialogue. Ponder on ourselves, discuss our external self needs and the inner self wants. Think about how to balance the both to live a happy life, self-actualized life. This process of self-discovery never ends. Self-knowledge is a lifelong journey. We collect our basic knowledge through our five senses. Our body is the base structure to feel and to know the nature of these feelings. At the same time, we have the intuitive power to discern the spiritual or divine from what we receive through the nature and the senses. The Indian understanding of Jnana Yoga is the path of attaining knowledge of the truth or true nature of reality through the practice of self-enquiry, contemplation and meditation. It is the process of self-knowing. It can be defined as the awareness of absolute consciousness and is an all-inclusive practice of self-study. In this self-study, the mind is used to inquire into its own nature and to transcend the mind's identification with its thoughts and ego. It is natural for us to identify with the persons and things we come across and relate. Based on this, we form our ego and think that I am good, I am bad, I am a worker, I am a teacher, I am an artist, I am a scientist, etc. It is formed by our connection with external realities. It is continuously changing. When we change the object of our events and connections. The fundamental goal of self-knowledge is to become liberated from the illusionary world of ignorance. It is our self-limiting thoughts and perceptions in connection with the temporal things. The true knowledge is to achieve the union of the inner self with the oneness of all that is life. This is achieved by unwavering practice of self-questioning, reflection and conscious illumination. The science of the self-knowledge is not a subject that can be realized through mere intellectual study, reasoning, discussion, etc. It is the most difficult of all sciences, and it is possible only by self-inquiry assisted by the experience of divine power or inner self. To enter into the process of self-knowing, we have to practice a one-pointed meditation on a single question of self-inquiry to remove the veils of ignorance or illusion created by our concepts, world views and perceptions. This one-pointed meditation has to be assisted by some virtues. These virtues are the strong support for self-knowing. They are the prescribed steps to achieve liberation. Even if one does not have the purpose of achieving liberation, practicing these virtues will elevate the spiritual insight and understanding, and it will reduce one's suffering and dissatisfaction of life. They serve human beings by bringing each practitioner closer to self-realization. First of all comes the discrimination and its value. We experience discrimination when we observe the constant change happening in the temporal realities. At the same time, we notice that the divine being within us does not change. The nature of our body, thoughts, and emotions are renewed and changed continuously, and the true self, the part of us that is witnessing these processes, does not change. Here, we have to identify our own ability to witness is the goal of self-knowing. Then comes renunciation. It involves acceptance and a lack of likes and dislikes. We become less attached to the pleasures and pains of the world. Our consciousness remains active and enthusiastic regardless of the fulfillment of desires. This is how we can experience this virtue of self-knowing on the spiritual path. When we do, we become free of unsatisfied cravings and attitudes of aversion. We should have the tranquility of the mind. It is the ability to keep the mind peaceful through moderating its reaction to external stimuli. Then we have the value to control our one's own senses. It is strengthening of the mind to be able to resist the control of the senses and the training of the senses to be used only as instruments of the mind. We should have the capacity of endurance. It is not getting shaken by what happens in our daily life. It is a tolerance of external, non-conducive situations that are commonly considered to produce sufferings, especially in extreme opposite states such as success and failure, hot and cold, pleasure and pain, etc. We have to rejoice in our own nature, It is the abandonment of all activities that are not one's own duty or responsibility. A simple lifestyle is followed that contains no worldly attractions from the spiritual path. Then we should have a faith. It is the sense of certainty and belief in one's own teacher or guru, the scriptures, the spiritual path, and the supreme reality. Then we should have the value of contentment. It is being at ease, calm, and serene. It is the complete one-pointedness of the mind. We should have the ability to have constant striving for freedom. It is an intense and passionate desire for achieving the liberation from suffering. In order to achieve liberation, one must be completely committed to the path of self-knowing with such longing that all other desires fade away. From within, let us desire the best. Total freedom, enlightenment, and the highest longing should be the goal of the seeker of knowing the self. These virtues are already within us, although we do not know they do. Still, we have the ability to attain them through constant practice of meditation and spiritual practices. This deep longing for the ultimate experience of bliss is guided by these virtues. Then we should know how to practice this self-knowing. For us, it is easy to become entangled in the thoughts of the mind and lose sight of the goal of self-knowing. To realize the divine oneness is inherent in all beings. It can be difficult to grasp the intellectual approach of self-knowing, but it is based on the humility and compassion on this path and not overemphasizing on the intellectual attainment. The Tamil sage Sivavakya writes, I am not conscious of the one which is within me. If I could be conscious of the one which is within me, who can realize the one which is within me? Being within and within, I realized it. It is a simple thing. I am not conscious of the one who is within me. Most of us are not at all conscious of the inner reality which is the core of our life. If I could be conscious of the one which is within me, that is the process of life. I take all the care and necessities and also all the exercises to be conscious of the one within me. Who can realize the one? That is very personal. I can realize the inner reality only within my being. Other external realities cannot understand it and cannot help for it. Being within, I realized it. That is the basic attitude. We have to be within constantly in the daily routines of life. Being within makes us to realize, because we have the hidden divine principles within us, and being with that, that is being within, we realize that we are not only the body, mind and spirit, we are the self. We are having all realities within oneself. Here we have to see other also, this Tamil Siddhar, Avai Kural explains, if the inner light is emerged, if it is experienced, it is the graceful light. That light is a light of the beginning. If the inner light is emerged, so the inner light has to emerge from within. For that we have to remove all the impurities, all that is covering that light. That is our responsibility. If we do it by our spiritual exercises, if we are able to purify ourselves, the inner light will emerge. If the inner light is emerged, if it is experienced, the emerging is not only enough. We have to experience it in all the daily routines of our life. It is the graceful light. That light will be graceful to lead us in our spiritual path. That light is the light of the beginning. That is, the Supreme Reality has no beginning, no end. That inner light is the source, the base of all other illuminating realities of knowing our own self. If we are able to practice the virtues, then we are considered ready to begin the practice of knowing our own self. It includes hearing, reflecting, and meditation. These lead to the direct realization of the self. First of all, what is hearing? It is through hearing that self-actualization starts, where the individual learns that their identity is at one with the Supreme Self or the Supreme Consciousness. In this way, the ultimate result of hearing is for the individual to ascertain the true meaning of life and its fulfillment. It is the hearing or experiencing the sacred knowledge in scriptures. Usually, a teacher or a guru will guide the seeker through discussions on the divine and spiritual realities. In this stage, the student should read and study the self. The student should study and read the self in connection with the spiritual writings and achieve a deeper understanding of the concepts of inner self and the Supreme Self. First of all, the seeker has to hear the language of one's own body and its actions. He should be able to integrate the inner faculties and their powers and movements. If the seeker is competent, all the natural realities have something to inform us regarding the Supreme Reality. Even the grass and its flowers can become a guru or a teacher to manifest the divine within. We have to hear the cry of the nature, not able to balance itself, affected by the global warming caused by the pollutions created by the unjust use of the nature. All the more, it is our spiritual need to hear the cry of the poor, the sick, and their pain and suffering caused by the unjust social and political conditions. Through all created things, though all created things are temporal, we have the moral responsibility to safeguard the order of nature and living beings. It is the true consciousness of the divine power in a just manner to assist for the welfare of nature and other living beings. In this aspect, hearing becomes a continuous act to perceive the Supreme Self in our individual self, in other beings, in all the cosmic realities. Then comes the act of thinking and reflecting on the divine realities. We human persons have the innate power to feel, to think, to understand, and to personalize. These teachings we get from the scriptures and the physical and spiritual realities. The seeker has to engage in this act of deep pondering of the permanent realities in connection with the impermanent and transitory realities we experience in our daily life. Here, the self-study is involved, and the seeker is expected to spend many hours of thinking and contemplating on the various events taking place in our daily life. We try to know our inner self, overcoming the ignorance found in ourselves and in other natural and social realities. Our thinking and reflection should help to purify ourselves and other external realities, though they are temporal. Our thinking and reflection should be practical and not only ideological and imaginary. Our reflection should be creative and recreative. We recreate ourselves in the supreme reality means we have to use all the temporal means to renew the natural order and the inhuman and unjust social and political situation. In the mythology of religions, God became man to recreate the natural and human situation and eradicate the unjust situation. It is the redeeming act to free the nature and all the living beings from the social and political evils, unjust and immoral egoistic activities, to create peace and tranquility in all beings, so that we may realize the inner and supreme reality within. While we focus on ourselves and try to balance our own self, then we take care of the world. So, we should take responsibility for our life, for our movements and our experiences, and take complete and absolute care of ourselves to be in communion with the nature, with other beings and with the supreme reality. It is the constant and profound practice of meditation. This involves a meditation on the real meaning of being with the divine. It is the process of being one with the supreme reality. It is the consciousness of the union with and within the indwelling reality. The consciousness that I am, the self, or indwelling reality, or I am the one and many, is really a cosmic union to have and to see all things within oneself. If I am conscious that I am the indwelling presence in all beings, means I have the spiritual duty to do something for the welfare of all beings. It is a selfless act to eradicate greed, selfish ambitions, anger, fear, anxiety, and all kinds of causes for the unjust social conditions. Through this continuous focus on these seeds of wisdom, a seeker can obtain the union of thought and action, knowing and being. It is the knowledge of all things by being in all beings. It is knowing of all things by being in all beings. It is not a mere ideological union. It is a union of the consciousness of self in reality. It is being within all beings and all beings in the present self. It is being within all beings and all beings in the personal self. Being connected to our inner self means knowing deeply our values, visions, and motivations and beliefs in life, and it takes a great deal of continuous self-awareness and introspection. Being connected to this inner self means being connected to the ultimate truth, human, nature, and divine. When we are not connected to our inner self, we may experience some external, physical, and mental indications of anxieties, discomfort, depression, fear, etc. And when we realize our disunion, we have the need to understand the reasons and what we are doing that causes us anxiety, and what we can do to regain our inner freedom and union. There are some helps to help us in this process of self-knowing. First of all, we have to accept our own life situation. Our inner self loves us fully and unconditionally. Our inner self loves us fully and unconditionally. It is not the matter how we were disconnected from our inner self. It will be always with us as we live in this world. Our inner self is not the power of judgment. It is a potency of unconditional love, compassion, and acceptance. If we are prepared, we can always enter to that inner chamber within ourselves. Secondly, we have to be calm to the noise of daily life. We have to stop distracting ourselves with our phone, with our mobile, and overall amount of mass media. We have to create a quiet space to be within ourselves. We have to create a quiet space to be within ourselves. If we are more disciplined, just make the decision to avoid all kinds of distractions and set the intention for inner union. If we need a little help, engage with someone who can make us responsible. Then we have to make and create a daily system. Create our daily routine of life. Build the mindset for positive approach and be reliable with our daily healthy habits of eating, physical exercise, meditation, and social activities. This will help to change our life and our living situation. Then comes the practice of meditation. Meditation will make us feel healthy, fulfilled, and united with our body, mind, and spirit. During meditation, we have to sit still, breathe normal, let go of our thoughts, and just be there with ourselves. It will purify the added realities of our ignorance, and the true light will emerge to see our own self. Then we have to be aware of our nature and natural setting. The nature, especially greenish, is so healing and curing. Today we forget that we are part of this earth. We need to connect to it physically. Let us love the plants, trees, flowers, fruits, birds, animals, and all other natural beings. Let us see our own image in them all. Let us see their image is our own. That pondering is needed to be with the nature. Then we should be honest with ourselves. Let us gain awareness and understanding of the various situations of our daily life and the persons whom we meet frequently. Let our connection with others be honest and generous. Let us exercise it daily and continuously. Any healthy relationship is better and welcoming. Let us find out the true means to know our inner self and being in connection with our self and other living beings. Like that, we have to cultivate the habit continuously in our daily life of being discerning and going deeper with all the values and coming out with hearing, reflection and meditation, that we build our own self in communion with the nature, with other living beings, with all the created realities and the supreme reality. Thus, it is a process of self-awareness, self-knowing, overcoming all the unjust situations of social, personal and cosmic life. Let us try and let us become self-knowing persons. O Supreme Graceful Light, justice, love and peace be with all beings. Be well, be well, be well. Thank you.